Now, I used to always do this, hit these really high, weak golf shots with zero compression. But then when I avoided the three main mistakes I had in my swing, which so many of you amateur golfers do out there as well, I immediately started doing this, hitting these nice penetrating shots, picked up a load of distance and had that awesome compression. So let's get straight into the things to avoid in your golf swing that are causing you to have no compression, and a drill to do for each one of those to fix it straight away. Now, number one here, this is super common for all of you who do not compress the golf ball and have this horrible early release casting movement coming into the shot. And that is an open club face in your golf swing. So this is what I used to do all the time. I used to have a really rolled takeaway, which made the toe of the club point right up towards the sky, and that club remained open for the rest of my downswing. So if I was going to hit the ball to target, I had to really early release it to be able to just hit the ball straight. So absolutely no good if you want to hit those powerful compressed golf shots. So for me, again, the reason why I was open to face was because of my takeaway, which is so many of you out there as well. So we don't want to be rolling those forearms, opening the face to then early release to square it with zero compression. We want to get into our takeaway into a spot where that club face is more matching my spine angle. That's what we want to see. So what we're doing here, we're taking out excessive forearm pronation, which is where the underside of the forearm rolls towards the ground. So a drill that I did to really help me get into that good spot was just grabbing an alignment stick and placing it up the left hand side of the golf club, just like so. So if I had my roll move, you can see how the stick detaches from my side straight away. So what I wanted to do was roll the stick and slide it down my side. So then that got me into a much better spot. That took away that forearm pronation, that roll, and that got me into a good spot naturally. So I just did as much as I could with that, and then that got my takeaway into a much better spot. I still imagined, okay, I'm getting that real stick sliding down that side, got the club face nice and square, so then at the top of my swing, my club face started matching the line of my left forearm, which is square to the arc. And then from there was no need to early release, because the club face is already square. So then I could turn through the golf ball nicely and create that shaft lean. But there was something else I did along with that to be able to get the shaft lean easier. And that was using one of these, an impact bag. I used to do tons of this. So this, as you can see, is a very used impact bag. I've had it for a long time. So when we are early releasing, we're going to feel it quite easily. So when we're having that lack of compressed move going through the golf ball, because it's going to feel disgusting into an impact bag, we're most likely going to have the toe of the club reach it first, but the leading edge is going to hit it too much and it's going to feel horrible. So I made sure I was doing my takeaway drill, getting the feeling in there. Okay, so getting this sliding down my left leg. Good. Gives me the feedback, replicate that same feel. And now I just wanted to get into the impact bag and still feel a nice flush feeling in there. So you want to feel the club face meet it very flat on the impact bag. So that's going to train that forward shaft length position, which we see all the best players in the world in, to be able to get that good compression. And then guys, something that I talk about all the time on the channel, then it is just a matter of getting in the reps. So for me, for fixing that open club face, which was one of the things that I needed to avoid to start to compress the golf ball, those two things got me into a lovely spot where iron play is now the strength of my game. So the second move that you must avoid, that I needed to avoid in my swing, we see in so many amateurs, is as they're starting the downswing, upper body falling back onto the trail side. Now this could be a little bit of a misconception for some, believing you need to be behind the golf ball all the time. For sure, with a long iron and a driver and a fairway wood, yeah, you'll be a little bit behind it, absolutely, from ball position. But you do not want to be behind the golf ball if you're trying to compress it. Because if we're moving away from the target with the upper body, that's going to be really hard to present good angles, because you're moving the opposite way with your hub that controls your arms. So then you have to then throw the wrists in to accelerate the club going through the ball if the upper body isn't staying more on top and turning through. So you'd also see golfers really struggle with strike who do this. So really fat shots, sometimes thins. If they really overdo it, they will top it. But this absolutely will really add loft a ton. You'd hit it really, really high from doing this build on that back leg. So for me, I absolutely had that in my golf swing. I would have a little bit too much trail side bend. So I wouldn't necessarily be hanging back on the right leg. I would just have my right shoulder drop down too much to where then that got me into a spot where I couldn't turn my body through the golf ball and resulted in that early release and flip. So what we did to fix it was this drill. So back when this was an issue for me, what me and my coach did, we worked on a drill with a very long alignment stick. So what we did from here, we got a long alignment stick and extended it out to where it was just a few fingers outside my head. So I'm doing it here with the swing plate. He was standing there with an actual stick by my head. So all we wanted to do here was hit shots and don't hit that with the head in a downswing. If we would have any other feel, it would be feeling like that upper body, as an exaggeration, is feeling like the chest is getting on top of the left leg. Now, in reality, that doesn't actually happen. Though the chest doesn't get on top of the left leg, it stays very central to the body as it shifts. But we wanted to exaggerate the opposite move, which is chest over the right leg. So what would you do? Chest over left leg. And you can see me just exaggerating that. Look what's happening to my club naturally. I'm not trying to lean these hands forward, but you can see it's getting me in a shaft length position. We need shift, especially with that upper body, to remain moving forward to be able to create that shaft lean going through there. Shaft lean is such a thing that is created via a lot of elements. So square club face is one, you need that. Shifting is another, you need shifting, you need that upper body to be moving forward along with the lower body. And there is one more element, which we could talk about in a minute, but just missing that, getting the chest on the left leg. As I'm moving through, as you could hear, that was a brilliant strike. So this for me was one of my most recent things that I've worked on in the golf swing over the past, let's say 5 years. I think, say it's recent, but it was probably around 5 years ago. I started, maybe actually more than that. Actually probably a lot more than that, probably more about 8 was when I was working on this with my coach back in the day when I used to live in London and not Scotland. So really good one to do, really helps with compression. Remember, it's downswing that we're moving that chest, not backswing, moving it forward. Give this one a go. There is a link in the description if you want to pick up one of these, which is the swing plate with extension pole attachment. Now the third move that I had to avoid in my golf swing to not have that flip and to get compression into the golf ball, which we see again so many amateur golfers do. This is something that occasionally will creep back into my swing every now and again, and that is slow chest rotation going through impact. So when I would be moving through the golf ball, I could be in a good spot. So even with either moving that back or even keeping it more forward like we just talked about from the last point, if my chest starts to act too slow in its turn through the shot, my arms have to take over to get the club through the golf ball. Because you can imagine if the chest isn't getting us through along with the lower body, if that all slows down, the arms have to go through because something has to hit the golf ball. So it'll be your hands and arms, and you're going to go into more extension of the left wrist and flexion of the right wrist into that lofted up position. So that's where you just hit a little bit weaker and it wouldn't be penetrating the ball flight. So what I had to do to be able to fix that was to get that chest continuing to turn through the shot, because what that does when we continue the chest through, again, that makes the rotation of the body, the rotation of the upper body as well, being the governor of what moves that club going through the shot. So if we have that being our mover of the club going through the golf ball, you're going to see again at how I'm going to keep better angles. I'm going to get in this lovely right wrist extended position and flatter or even slightly bowed of a left wrist. So that's where rotation is a key element to be able to get yourself turning and get yourself, of course, some really, really good shaft length position. You can't create shaft lean all too effectively without rotating the body. As you can see immediately as you turn, it creates shaft lean. So we need to keep that chest turning through the golf ball if we want to do and have that great compression. Now to be able to work on this again, there's loads of good little things that I've done to absolutely get that chest firing up and get it speeding up. So one, straight back to the first point, impact bag, really good for it. Oops, almost just tripped up on the net. So impact bag, if we're going, of course, turning the chest through, making sure that's our movement going through the shot, that is going to get you that nice flush feeling in the impact bag. And you're going to be hitting something with mass that isn't a golf ball. So that's called a little bit of bridge practice or transference practice. A lot of you have noticed that how when you do practice swing and then go into a real golf ball, and that real golf ball doesn't even remotely resemble how good your practice swing looks, that's because you need transference practice. You need to hit something with mass that gives you a subconscious reaction, the bracing effect that happens with a golf ball, but of course without a ball. So you can train the movement a little bit more efficiently. So bridging practice from practice swing to real swing. This speeds up that rate of improvement, but also for us, it's a great way to train rotation because we know we want to meet it flush and we can hit something without a ball that replicates that same feeling with a ball. Brilliant. So again, There actually is a link in the description down from there, but it's on golftrainingaids.com. They've got loads of training aids on there in the description. Impact bag is in there as well. So absolutely you can go and grab one of those from there also. So using that impact bag, crucial. My coach, Lee Cox, absolutely brilliant guy. We've worked on that a ton as well. Impact bag, alignment stick, all great stuff. So that's where there was something else of a feel and a drill that we did for this. So the feel is like a feeling that Tiger Woods has when he hits a stinger. Because when you hit a stinger, what is ultimately happening? You're exaggerating what we're talking about here. You're exaggerating shift and you're exaggerating rotation to get those hands really ahead at impact to create maximal shaft lean to hit the ball down as low as possible. Stinger shot. So what Tiger tries to feel to be able to do that, he tries to feel his right shoulder is getting in front of the golf ball at impact. So that is a brilliant one to feel because that gets the upper body moving and that gets the chest rotating. If that right shoulder gets in front of the ball, look how open and rotated I am. So that is a great feel that we had. I also like the feeling of that club head always being behind the trail shoulder. Feeling that trail shoulder or right shoulder for me, right-handed golfer, is beating the club to the ball. That's a great feeling. Oh, lovely, to keep yourself turning. That for me is one of the most effective feels to keep everything moving ideally through the golf ball, is having that right shoulder beating the club to the ball or getting in front of the ball through impact. Love it. Okay, so one other little thing that we can do here, and it's a training aid. So this is a training aid that I made my first video about this probably about a year ago from now, and it proved to be very, very popular of a training aid, and that is this, the Lag Pro. Now, with the Lag Pro, what it does, it gets you into a ton of right wrist extension. So if we are going to keep this right wrist extension, we have to do the things that create it. Turning, shifting, moving the chest. So that's where, of course, you've got these loops and it creates tension with these bands that are attached to the armband here. So it gets you in that right wrist extended position. So it keeps you there. It feels really horrible to extend that. There's a lot of resistance to it. So this is where things on the market like here with the JChownGolf Lag Pro, again, there's a link in the description for this if you want to pick one of these up. It's a great thing. I mean, what does it do? It also keeps you into a good shallow movement in the downswing, creates lag like the name of it. But it's something that is a tool which you can use to create right wrist extension, which creates the other moves as a byproduct. So if I have this along with, let's say, trying to get that right shoulder going through the ball, beating the club to the ball, oh, that feels very good. That is going to be a really good way for you to practice if you struggle with, of course, getting a compressed shot, because again, throwing from here feels awful. You get all tangled up as well, which is not, of course, what you want. Super simple, but very effective. So again, right shoulder beating the club to the ball, right shoulder get in front, keeping the tension on the band with the Lag Pro. Okay, here we go. Let's do another one. Oh, that was nice. So really, really good there. That's a great option. Again, there's a link in the description for this, but you've got to keep that chest moving and turning through the ball. If it slows down, you're going to throw going through the golf shot. So making sure that, number one, club face is nice and square. Number two, you're preventing upper body from hanging back. It's moving forward. And number three, keeping the chest turning. If you can do those, you're going to start to create shaft lean. Now, just before we end the video there, shaft lean is not tons and tons. That's not a realistic goal to have. So that's where even just a little bit of shaft lean is absolutely great. The more shaft lean you have, the more club head speed you need to be able to match that up. That's why we see Dustin Johnson with a huge amount of shaft lean, why we see someone like Gordon Sargent, for example, loads of shaft lean. Cameron Champ, loads of shaft lean. The fastest swingers of a golf club will always have more shaft lean because it lowers your dynamic loft, makes the ball launch lower. If you need to get the ball up in the air, which you will do, you need ball speed to create more lift on the shot. If you do not have the ball speed for creating tons of shaft lean, you're going to hit it shorter and lower. You might hit some nice feeling strikes, but it's not going to go very far. That's where being realistic, when you're looking on camera, if you're here just slightly hands ahead, brilliant, and you're a normal club head speed player. Now, if you're faster, you could be more, but these are the ways to encourage your swing to absolutely create some nice shaft lean to create some good compression. So if you need absolute help with your golf swing, there's a link in the description for online lessons with myself. We can absolutely get you into a good spot, figure out what your root cause is and give you some good actionable plans to be able to work it out anywhere in the world. All you need to do is send through videos to me on Skillist, choose a lesson option of your choice, and we can get started straight away. There's also a good amount of video courses for extra content, really in-depth guides on rotation, early extension, shallow in the shaft, over the top, to fix all of those. Absolutely plenty of options for you. So if you enjoyed this video, click that like button if you want more golf instruction just like this. Hit the subscribe button, hit that bell button too to be notified every time I put out a video.